3 days after my mother's funeral, I found a photograph hidden inside her wallet, and the man standing beside her was someone I had never seen before. I found a stranger's photo in my mother's wallet. Then he knocked on my door. The day my mother died, I thought I knew everything about her. I was wrong. 3 days after her funeral, I was cleaning out her bedroom when I found an old photograph hidden inside a small pocket of her wallet. It showed my mother standing beside a man I had never seen before. On the back of the photograph, she had written only 6 words. "Please forgive me. I had no choice." I stared at those words for several minutes. Then someone knocked on my front door. When I opened it, the man from the photograph was standing there. He looked at me and said, "Your mother told me I had to wait until she was gone. My name is Emily, and my mother was the person I trusted more than anyone in the world. After my father died when I was young, it was just the 2 of us. My mother worked hard, raised me, and somehow managed to make our little house feel like the safest place in the world. She rarely talked about the past. Whenever I asked about my father or her younger years, she would smile and say, 'Some memories are better left where they belong.' I never understood what she meant until I found the photograph. The man standing beside my mother looked to be about her age. They were both smiling, but there was something unusual about the picture. My mother was wearing a wedding ring, and the man was holding a baby. I couldn't understand it. My mother had always told me that I was her only child. So why was there a baby in the photograph? And who was that man? The knock at my door answered the question before I could even begin looking for it. The stranger introduced himself as Daniel. He said he had known my mother for more than 30 years. I immediately became suspicious. "Why have I never heard of you?" Daniel looked down. "Because your mother wanted it that way." He handed me an old envelope. Inside was another photograph. This time, I saw my mother much younger, standing outside a hospital. Beside her was Daniel, and in his arms was the same baby from the first photograph. I felt dizzy. "Who is that child?" Daniel looked directly into my eyes. "Your brother." I couldn't speak. For several seconds, the only sound in the room was the ticking of the clock. "My mother told me I was her only child. She wanted you to believe that," Daniel said quietly. I demanded the truth. Daniel sat down and began telling me a story I never knew existed. 30 years earlier, my mother had given birth to twins. I was one of them. My brother, Michael, was born with a serious medical condition. The doctors told my mother that he would need expensive treatment immediately. My father had already disappeared from our lives, and my mother had almost no money. Daniel was my mother's closest friend at the time. He helped her find a hospital that could treat Michael. But there was a problem. The treatment would cost more than my mother could ever afford. Daniel's family had the money. They offered to pay, but they wanted something in return. They wanted to adopt Michael. My mother refused. She couldn't imagine giving away her son. But then the doctors told her Michael might not survive without immediate treatment. My mother had to make an impossible decision. She chose to let Daniel's family adopt him. They saved his life. And my mother spent the rest of hers carrying the guilt. I started crying. "Where is he now?" Daniel pulled another photograph from his coat. A young man stood beside a hospital bed. "He's alive," Daniel said. "His name is Michael Carter." I stared at the photograph. My brother was alive. Somewhere in the same country, I had a brother who had grown up without ever knowing I existed. I asked why my mother had never told me. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. She was afraid. Afraid of what? She thought you would hate her for giving him away. I couldn't accept it. For years, I had believed my mother had told me everything. Now I realized she had spent her entire life protecting me from the truth. Daniel gave me one final envelope. "This is from your mother." My hands shook as I opened it. The letter was short. "My beautiful Emily, if you're reading this, then I am no longer there to explain everything myself. I know you may be angry. You have every right to be. But please understand one thing. I never gave your brother away because I didn't love him. I gave him a chance to live. And every day of my life, I wondered whether I had made the right decision. I wanted to tell you so many times. But I was afraid that knowing about Michael would bring pain into your life. If you ever find him, don't ask him why he was taken away. Tell him I loved him. And tell him I never stopped looking for him. Love, Mom." I couldn't stop crying. That night, I searched for Michael. It took several days, but Daniel eventually helped me find him. We arranged to meet at a small coffee shop. When Michael walked through the door, I knew immediately. He had my mother's eyes. He looked at me for several seconds. Then he said, "Are you Emily?" I nodded. He smiled through his tears. "I've been waiting my entire life to meet you." We sat together for hours. We talked about our mother. We talked about childhood. We talked about the lives we could have shared. There was sadness. There was anger. But there was also something else. A feeling neither of us could explain. It felt like coming home. Months later, Michael and I visited our mother's grave together. We stood there silently. Then Michael placed the original photograph beside the flowers. I looked at my mother's name on the stone. For years, I had believed she had hidden a terrible secret from me. But now I understood. Sometimes people hide the truth because they are ashamed. Sometimes they hide it because they are afraid. And sometimes they hide it because they are trying to protect the people they love. My mother made a decision that broke her heart. But that decision gave my brother a life. And somehow 30 years later, it brought us together. Before we left the cemetery, Michael looked at me and said, "Do you think Mom knew we'd find each other?" I smiled through my tears. I think she was waiting for us to be ready. And that was the last secret my mother ever left me. Not a secret about money. Not a secret about betrayal. But a secret about love. A love strong enough to survive 30 years of silence.